Good evening, everyone. Welcome, council, staff, and residents to the regular council meeting for Tuesday, November the 5th, 2024, and we're being streamed live. Councillor Derry sends his regrets. And I'll call the meeting to order at 6:30. Land acknowledgement is first on the agenda. We are meeting today on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within. We honor their cultures and celebrate their commitment to this land. We would also like to acknowledge the Mohawk and Algonquin nations, whose traditional and unceded territory we are gathered upon today. Hastings County is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Being none, can I get a motion that to approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Marmorant Lake for Tuesday, November the 5th, 2024? I have a mover and a seconder. Jane? Eric? Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor? That's carried. Next is the mayor's report. October the 15th, I attended Hastings County Planning and Development and Finance, Property and Personnel Committee meetings. Immediately after that, I attended a special meeting of Hastings County Council. At 1 o'clock that day, I participated in the annual performance evaluation for the county CAO. At 6:30 that night, I presided over the regular Marmorant Lake Council meeting. October the 16th, I attended a meeting of mayors and staff regarding the status of the Center Hastings Support Network, and we met in Sterling. October the 18th, I attended the Madoc Chamber of Commerce Excellence in Business Service Awards. On behalf of Marmorant Lake Council, I congratulated the recipients of the awards. The legal name of the chamber has been changed to Central and North Hastings Chamber of Commerce. Did I get that right?
It's just Central and North Hastings.
Oh, okay. Thank you. October 21st at noon, I attended a meeting at the Doctor Recruitment Committee. This is going to be an ongoing issue as doctors retire and move to other opportunities. At 2 o'clock that day, I participated in a special meeting with the Ministry of Health officials to discuss the proposed merger. October 22nd, I chaired the regular meeting of our Sacred Heart Parish Council at my church. October 23rd, I participated in the regular meeting of Hastings Prince Edward Board of Health Governance Committee. October 24th, I chaired a special Marmorant Lake closed council meeting, and also on October the 28th. October 29th, I participated in a community of practice meeting with the Ministry of Health staff to further discuss the proposed merger of the boards of health. October 31st, I attended the regular Hastings County Council meeting. Nominations were received for the position of Hastings County Warden. Warden Bob Mullen was nominated and accepted the nomination for a second term, and it was unanimously endorsed by council. The inauguration will be held on December the 7th at the regular council meeting. At 2 o'clock that day, I met with the arena manager in Sterling to discuss our current situation with the arena and thank him for his support. October 31st was Halloween. On behalf of Marmorant Lake Council, thank you to all the organizers and participants who participated in the Trunk and Treats special event. The main street was decorated and created a very safe and fun Halloween celebration. I understand that some candy givers prepared about 400 bags and they run out before the night was officially over. These events make our town a special community. November the 1st to the 3rd was the annual Christmas tour. It was kicked off for this year. Thank you to the merchants and business owners for participating and making the event successful. Again, a very community event, and thanks to the organizers, the shoppers, and everyone who supported our local business. Just a reminder that that event is also planned for November 8th, 9th, and 10th. November the 4th, yesterday, I traveled to Brockville to participate in our Southeast Transition team meeting. And today I attended the Southeast Transition team meeting. It was very successful, and we're expecting an announcement on the proposed merger by the end of this week. And tonight is the Marmor Lake Council. And I just want to give it a reminder, and you'll see on the agenda, the Santa Claus Parade is December 7th at 6 o'clock. And Frolicking on Forsyth is December the 5th from 4 to 8:30. Thank you. There are no delegations, and there's no one present for public input. Next, they need a recommendation, or I need a motion that the foregoing minutes of the regular meeting of council of the municipality of Marmor Lake held October 15th, 2024 be approved as presented. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Eric, second. Jane, any discussion on those minutes? Being none, all in favor? Mike, can I see your hand?
No, because I wasn't here, so I can't really vote on
Oh,
it.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. So that's carried. Next, minutes of the special regular meetings of the Council of the Municipality of Marmor Lake for October 11th, 24th, and 28th. And the recommendation is that the foregoing minutes of the special regular meetings of the Council of the Municipality of Marmor Lake held October 11th, 24th, and 28th be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Eric and Jane, any discussion on any of those minutes? Being none, all in favor? Jane, are you voting? Okay, carried. We have a small group tonight, so next on the agenda, staff reports, draft assessment role access and reproduction bylaw. And the recommendation is that council receive the draft assessment role access and reproduction bylaw report, and further that council direct staff to bring forward a bylaw for final approval at the next regular council meeting. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Jane, second. Mike, any discussion on that report? Jane?
I've read the report. It's a very thorough report. I would just recommend that item number 4, the governing principles, before this becomes official, that we could correct the spelling.
Any other comments? Eric?
So I'm the one that deferred this to this meeting, so thank you to staff and the rest of council for accepting that because of the short amount of time we had to review previously. Since then, I've had the chance to do some more research with the Information Privacy Commissioner to get some better background, as well as I went into the municipal office to put myself in the shoes of a resident looking at the roll book for the purpose of comparing properties. Staff has the roll book really well laid out and indexed by section. So if you go in with your roll number, it's very easy to get to exactly the information you want very quickly because they've taken that step to categorize and index the book. That makes it really easy as well. I'd remind the public that on Impact website, they can register on About My Property through the Impact website, and that gives you the ability to look at a map of the entire municipality, and you can go and look at up to 100 different properties for the purpose of comparison to look at what their assessed value is. So if you do want to come in and look at the roll book, you can be very well prepared by either looking at About My Property, which you can make an account on Impact to be able to do that, or if you don't want to do that, Hastings County also has a GIS system, which you can go on. It's free. You don't need an account, and you can look at the roll number of every property index on the map. So I respect the fact that the municipality is making an effort here to protect information of residents through looking at the roll book. You do get personal information related to property owners, and the municipality has a due diligence to protect that information from such things as data harvesting, which I think is a real threat here, as well as identity theft. Looking at some of the property information, you're getting the full name, middle initials. There's a lot of information there that is private information. So I think in protecting resident information, that this is a good step.
Thanks, Eric. Any other comments? Mike?
I agree with Eric. I think the amount of time they've got and the fact that they can only take notes on a paper, because with AI out there right now, people could come in with a scanner or something like that and gather reams and reams of data out of that book that they would use for different purposes. And usually not all the purposes are good. I think the bad guys got more going than we have as good guys with AI out there at the moment. I think this election, I was reading the news every day of breaches where some other country, mainly Russia and China, are going on our websites and going into our elections, both in the US and Canada and Europe, and spreading false information. So, they're data mining everywhere they can and getting everything as much as possible. So I think it's good the way we're handling it.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks to Ashley for taking the initiative to keep us safe in that regard, because we do have an obligation to keep people's information private. So all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next is a report from Kayla, Manager of Compliance, regarding the Deloro Drinking Water System Inspection Report. And it's the recommendation is that council receive this report for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Jane and Eric, any discussion on that report? Kayla is on Zoom. If anybody has any questions, Mike?
I don't have any questions. I just like to thank Kaylee and Victor and the staff down there for again coming back with an excellent report, keeping everybody in town safe, keeping our water good, making sure everything's done right, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Mike. Any other comments or questions for Kayla? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Kayla. Next, report from Tammy May, Economic and Community Development, regarding the Marmaton Mine Sign Rehabilitation Project. And the recommendation is that council receive the report and attachments for information, and further that council approve the Marmaton Mine Sign Rehabilitation Project. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Eric and Jane. Any comments on that report, Jane?
I would like to bring the attention that the quote is incorrect. Hudson Painting, their quote of it's the $600 plus HST. The incorrect HST on $600 is $78. So their price should be $678, not $690, which will affect the bottom line of what the cost is. So I'm assuming Tammy will take care of the correction. Sure, that's taken care of. And I think it's a good report. Because I've always the QR codes. I understand the purpose of the QR codes. I also know that there are a lot of people who don't always have their phone with them or a computer with them. Is there a place where hard copies of the information on the QR codes can be made available?
Thank you for your question. The image that's attached in the agenda package is actually going to go through a couple more revisions to explain to visitors that don't know what a QR code is or how it works. That will be reflected in the final image.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Eric?
First of all, thank you to Tammy for putting this report together. Thank you as well to the members of the Economic Development Advisory Committee who initiated this project, I guess, through identifying the issues that are with this sign. I look forward to being able, with the Economic Development Committee, we had looked at this graphic example as proposed, kind of as a starting point. So I look forward with that group of kind of going through and wrapping our heads around what other information we can possibly include on that and what needs to be on that sign, so that the final sign that's out there can provide as much information for visitors and hopefully ultimately direct them into town.
Okay, Mike?
Just one question on top of Jane's is when they get into town to the tourist information center, or is all the information that's on those QR codes available in hard copy? Because I agree with her, not everybody carries a QR reader on their phone, and a lot of tourists don't use them or have them. So do we have some place where they can pick up hard copy of this? Or is there a reproduction of the sign, like on a poster or anything at the tourist center, so that people coming in there can also get information and get hard copy information?
That is absolutely something that we could look into when we finalize the project. We do have currently a pamphlet at the Tourism Center for the Miners Loop tour that has the 4 QR codes on that. But absolutely, I can ensure that we have a replica of what the sign is going to project as a hard copy at the Tourism Center.
Great. Oh, sorry. Great. Thanks, Tammy.
I just wanted to make one additional announcement that I applied for the Community Futures Grant and submitted the application last week, hoping to hear back on the decision by the end of the year.
So Tammy, is that how you, I was gonna ask if there's money in the budget for this, or like, how did you, so you're waiting to hear from? if we
Well,
get a grant?
as indicated in the staff report, I'm applying for the funding, and in the chance that we don't get the funding, I'm requesting that we use some CIP funds in the reserve for that.
Okay. Any further questions on that? All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you.
And thanks to the Economic Development Advisory Committee for bringing this forward. Next is report from Jeff Young, Manager of Parks and Recreation and Facilities, regarding its Marmor Arena follow-up. And the recommendation is that council receive the November 5th, 2024 Marmor Arena follow-up report. And I have a mover and a seconder. Jane and Eric, any discussion on that report? Jane?
I understand that those involved in pulling this grant preparation together pulled a rabbit out of a hat in timeline, so job well done, folks.
Eric?
I'd like to echo what Jane said. Definitely when I brought this forward to apply for this funding, this was very short notice, and that definitely put staff in a position where they had to do a lot of work on very short timeline. This was not a simple grant. This is something that usually take weeks to prepare. So I really appreciate the effort that staff put in between Kristen, Jeff, and Nancy to step up to meet the deadline and have this submitted on time. I'd also like to thank all the members of the public and the different community groups that contributed letters of support. Those things really make a difference and help strengthen the application as the municipality presented it. It really shows the importance of the arena beyond just physical activity, how important it is for the community and the facility. And the letters that were submitted, many people copied me on those, so I appreciate that. And they really did a good job of speaking to the wide variety of usage that we have. It's not necessarily just about hockey. We have lots of different user groups that use the arena of all varying ages. And the letters acknowledge that. So thank you to those members from the public who contributed those as well.
I just wanted to say that I was approached on the weekend to be asked if there was a desire for a fundraising event to help to fund these costs. I'm not sure what council feels about that. I couldn't see any problem with it. I'm not sure, does it affect the grant if we do fundraising? Go ahead, Yvonne.
I would suggest that it is a day or two, a month or two early to be considering that. Potentially, yes, absolutely. But that would take a lot of planning and decisions and recommendations before council.
Well, this was a private person that was prepared to maybe, take it on, so.
I would suggest a little breather just for right now until more information is available.
That's why I brought it up, because I figured we needed some input, so thank you. Eric?
Through the chair, sorry, to Jeff. Did you get a chance when they were taking samples and looking at the contamination that currently exists, to ask about isolation and what tools we have or what's able to do with the equipment to isolate to prevent further contamination?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. As far as my conversations with our representatives, it isn't a system that we're able to simply close off. In the meantime, I have received the samples results back from Anco Chemicals yesterday, November 4th. Given the variation between the samples from the expansion tank and the sample from the arena headers, we can infer that the contamination is currently contained to the chiller system and has not drastically migrated throughout the floor system. This simply gives us an estimation that it would require fewer flushes of the refrigeration system. This again is an approximate estimate, and with time, we can expect our concentration of ammonia in the arena headers to grow and therefore require additional flushes to clear the system the longer we choose to wait.
I have a question. I know we can't start work on the replacement or fixing it. If we're waiting, we've applied for a grant, we have to wait until we know the effects of the grant. But could we go ahead and do the flushing just as a preventative, or is that we have to wait for the grant? Okay. Is that right?
Unfortunately, if we were to begin the flushing process, therefore we'd lead the arena into more potential for damage based on the pipes beneath the cement of the ice surface or the concrete of the ice surface bursting.
Okay,
So currently we have the brine will not freeze currently.
Right.
So it's best we leave it where it is for the time being. Thank
okay,
you.
thank you.
And
Go
the
ahead,
flushing
Krista.
is part of the overall cost that made us eligible for the grant in the first place. So
Mhm.
even if we could isolate the work, which we can't, it is part of that application. So yeah, we're not
Okay.
allowed to do a thing or we become ineligible, unfortunately.
Okay. We have to live by the rules. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we have a motion on the floor to receive the report. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you again, to everybody involved in applying for that grant, and, thank you for the report. Next is, correspondence for direction or information. And it's the Crow Valley Conservation Authority September Municipal Brief. And the recommendation is that council receive the brief for information. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Jane, and second. Eric, any discussion on that report or on that brief? Go ahead, Eric.
I just have a question. I know Ron isn't here and he's a member that currently sits on the board. I don't know if anyone else can speak to it. It says, Tim Piddock informed the board 2 versions of the draft 2025 budget will be presented to the board at the next meeting. Does anyone here know anything about 2 versions of a draft budget?
I can speak when I was on the board. Sometimes they do that when they're trying to give the board options, that this is what if say they want to hire another inspector. This is what the numbers look like if you do, and these are the numbers if you don't. And I'm just using that as an example. I would assume that that's likely the case.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Mike?
The only thing that I question and I found very, it's not very irregular, but it is irregular, is that the board overturned staff on the project in a wetland on the lake. So I don't know what that means, but I find that is kind of irregular going forward. I don't know, disturbs me when that happens.
Anybody else? All in favor? That's carried. Next, Central Hastings Support Network. Minutes of September 17th, 2024, and the recommendation is that council receives the minutes for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Jane, second. Eric, any questions or comments on that, on those minutes? I can tell you that we have a meeting on Friday to discuss the operation of the board. Mike?
Reading the reports, they did 18,800 drives last year. That seems like a huge, that divide that by 365, that's like Jane, your math is better than mine. How much is that a day?
That's why we're having the meeting on Friday, Mike.
That just seems like an astronomical number of drives. And then, okay, I don't, and it depends on the definition of what a drive is.
Yeah, the
Sorry, it just,
mayors and staff are meeting on Friday.
okay. Thank you.
Other comments, questions? All in favor? That's carried. Next, Heart of Hastings Hospice request for funding. That council consider the request for financial support from the Heart of Hastings Hospice during discussions for the 2025 budget. I have a mover and a seconder. Mike and Eric, any discussions on that motion? Mike?
I think in the past, we've always set aside some money for the hospice. So I guess when it comes to budget time, we just have to decide exactly how much it's going to be this year.
Yeah.
And what kind of condition we're in. Hopefully we get that grant and we'd be helped out a lot. But yeah, it's a very worthwhile charity to give money to.
And they do an awful lot of fundraising on their own as well. So any other comments or questions? All in favor? That's carried. Brad McNiven, Quinte Conservation, 2025 preliminary budget, asset management plan, fee policy, and schedules. And the recommendation is the council receive the information and further that council approve the 2025 preliminary budget of Quinte Conservation as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Mike and Jane, any comments or questions? Jane?
I just want clarification on the wording, approve the 2025 preliminary budget. So we haven't yet, we're not approving their final budget yet.
Can you speak to that, Mike?
I wasn't at that meeting, but what in the past is if they approve the budget down there, we don't have a huge say in what does go on. We can make comments on it and that. The biggest increase for us so far is going to be the funding for the WECI projects going forward. We have a dam over at Deloro, and what they're doing is they're putting money away for, it's not just for us, for everybody that's part of Quinte Conservation. Because the WECI projects was money coming from the province, a 50-50. And what they need to do is be able to have that cash on hand so that if there is a problem with the dam, that they can apply for the funding which they would usually get, and they would have enough money to go forward. It would be like us having $200,000 in funding put away for the arena where we could just buy a new chiller. So they're trying to get the money ahead of time because dams, anything I've seen that we do, even a study on a dam is costing like $100,000, $200,000. So they're very expensive and they're running like we are. They don't have that kind of money sitting around to be able to apply for a project unless they put money aside. Now, the money that we're putting aside, that was brought forward about 2 or 3 years ago, the whole schedule for that funding going forward.
Yeah.
So to be honest with you, it's not a surprise that our cost is going up because the funding was escalating as time went on. So we've already had notice of this, I would say, at least 3 years ago, of what's happening there.
Okay, it's just the word preliminary. I guess I just don't want them. How do I don't, it's not that I don't want them to want more money. It's just, it would be a bit of a shock for the numbers to come back of them to say the preliminary budget was way off. Just in my head, I just need an understanding of the word preliminary.
I can tell you historically, Jane, it's gone the other way. Historically, what they come out with is they give you their budgeting system is pretty good. So they come out with basically what they need.
Okay,
There might be some things in there that you could cut, but historically, if there is problems or some municipalities can't afford it and enough people make presentations, it usually gets reduced as opposed to going up. So
okay.
that's historically. I can't say that for every year, but that's usually how it goes.
I think the other thing is too, they know that we wait for their numbers in order to do our budget. And I think this is how they bring it forward so that we have the numbers when we start to work on our budget.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
So all in favor? That's carried. Ron Fudge regarding road closure request for Frolicking on Forsyth. And the recommendation is the council approve the request of Ron Fudge to close Forsyth Street from Madoc Street to Highway 7 on December the 5th, 2024 from 4 o'clock to 8:30 for the annual Frolicking on Forsyth family event. And I have a mover and a seconder. Eric and Jane, any questions or discussion? Eric?
Through the chair, to staff, I just want to make sure, insurance is required. As always, he's provided a copy of that. The municipality currently isn't listed under additionally insured. Has that been addressed with the applicant?
Yes, it has.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Mike?
One quick question. Is the actual date December 5th? Because that's a Thursday.
Yes, it's
It
an
is the
evening
13th.
event. Yes.
Any other comments? All in favor? That's carried. Next, Cynthia Reed from Marmacrow Valley Lions Club, requesting the road closure for the Santa Claus Parade, 2024. And the recommendation is that council approve the request of the Marmacrow Valley Lions Club to allow the Santa Claus Parade to follow its usual route on Saturday, December the 7th, 2024, and direct the Lions Club to notify emergency services of all associated road closures. And I have a mover and a seconder, please. Jane and Eric, any discussion on that request? Eric?
Just a reminder to the public, if they do want to participate, the parade is open to everyone. So if they have a group or a family or neighbors that want to participate, reach out to the Lions Club. If you want to do that, it's a great time.
Thanks. Oh, did I get a vote on that? All in favor? That's carried. Tammy Godden, Municipality of St. Charles regarding asset retirement obligations resolution. And Town of Cobalt asset retirement obligation resolution. The recommendation is that council support the resolution made by the Municipality of St. Charles regarding PS 3280 accounting standard covering asset retirement obligations. And I have a mover and a seconder for that. Jane? And second, Mike. Any questions or comments? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Colin Howard, Town of Petawawa, regarding the Ontario Provincial Police Costs 2025 resolution. The recommendation is the council support the resolution made by the Town of Petawawa regarding the 2025 Ontario Provincial Police Costs, and further call on the Ontario government to immediately implement sustainable funding for small rural municipalities by reabsorbing the cost of the Ontario Provincial Police Force back into the provincial budget with no cost recovery to municipalities, and further that council direct staff to circulate this resolution to Premier Doug Ford, Minister Solicitor General, Minister of Finance, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the regional commander at the OPP Eastern Region headquarters, and the detachment commander at the Center Hastings OPP detachment. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Eric and Mike? Any discussion on that resolution? Jane?
I think for the benefit of our ratepayers and the impact that the policing costs can potentially have on our budget. Mike, can you speak a bit to the escalating costs of the police services?
Not really, because it was a surprise to everybody on the services board that it was going up so high.
Okay,
It really wasn't discussed, and the problem is these budgets come down from Aurelia, from head office OPP for each individual unit out there. But seeing as the province gave Toronto, was it $10 million or $100 million to bring their police costs down, maybe they'll give us some too. I don't think we have near enough votes out here though to get that kind of money. But it seems ultimately unfair that the province supports one city over the rest of the province to bring their policing in line. But I see part of it was a mistake from last year, apparently, but that was only like $52,000 of the increase, and I think we're up like 170 some thousand. So the other 120,000 was likely be a permanent increase to our costs going forward. And to be honest with you, no, I can't speak as to why it is. What I found out talking to other members of it is that they finally settled with the police services union, which they had been negotiating with for the last several years. And it's the wages and benefits portion coming through at this point in time.
I just wanted to comment and say that there was a webinar planned to discuss for everybody to attend that wanted to, and I noticed it got taken down. So I'm not sure. I think they are getting a lot of pushback just from what I'm hearing at the county. So it'll be interesting going forward to see if they reschedule that webinar, because it would be helpful if our treasurers, I know Nancy commented that all the treasurers that she had connection with were commenting on it, but we're not the only ones that had significant increase.
No, our
But-
neighboring municipalities had bigger increases than we did. It caught everybody off guard, and I have to apologize. I don't know, but our only excuse is that our staff sergeant there is retired, and there's a new one coming in. But I would have thought if they had this big an increase, they would have given us some warning or more information going forward that this was coming down the pipe, instead of just popping it out at the last, when the bill comes out. But I really don't know. And I haven't heard anything. I've been in contact with the other members on the board.
Thanks, Mike. Jane?
and I just like to comment that this police services as part of the budget, we don't have any control as to what the cost is. But what I don't think a lot of people do realize, and Mike, you just stated it, is that the province gave Toronto money to offset some of their costs, yet the smaller municipalities are having to pay out of their own resources, and it's really unfair to the smaller municipalities.
Thanks, Jane. Yvonne, did you have your hand up that you wanted to speak?
I was going to mention that webinar being set and then canceled, but you beat me to the punch,
No.
Madam Mayor.
Well, okay, thank you. Next, all in favor for that motion? That's carried. Correspondence, letters of resolution, Girl Guides unit request, Pierce Mill request, community support and recreation infrastructure fund support. And the recommendation is that the correspondence of the deputy clerk is hereby received. Can I have a mover, Eric? Second? Jane? Any discussion on those letters? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Bylaw number 2024-67, road assumption bylaw, being a bylaw to establish and assume a municipal highway being a portion of lot 24 concession 2, as shown on 21R 26769 part 2, abutting 171 Ledge Road in the municipality of Marmorant Lake, county of Hastings. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that bylaw, please? Eric, second. Jane, any discussion on that road assumption bylaw? All in favor? That's carried. Announcements and notice of motion, Jane?
A notice of motion, the subject council rotation on personnel committee. Whereas all of council have an interest in the employment issues of all levels of personnel of the municipality of Marmorant Lake, and currently the personnel committee remains the same for each term, with the mayor being the first position and the deputy mayor being the second position. A motion be made to rotate the second position of the personnel committee annually with another member of council, and this rotation to commence on December 1st, 2024.
Thank you, Jane. For announcements, I have an email that I received from OPG, Ontario Power Generation, regarding the pump storage project. So I'm just going to read what he called me, and then he followed up with this information. Good morning, Mayor O'Neill. Thank you for the opportunity to talk this morning. Per our phone call, I wanted to share with you that OPG is exiting the proposed Marmora hydroelectric pump storage project as Northland Power Inc. retakes full ownership of the project moving forward. This transition is effective October the 31st, 2024, and better positions the project with a single party to advance work and provide a focused approach to development. This update follows approximately 2 years of engagement activities with members of the public, key stakeholders, and Indigenous leaders and their communities. We are appreciative of the time and support shown by the municipality of Marmorant Lake over this time period. Northland Power's Patrick Godfrey will remain your project contact moving forward and can be reached at, and they gave the email address. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you have further questions. Thanks again for the positive engagement over this period. And it was Stephen Fitzgerald. Any questions or comments on that information? Jane?
So Cole's Notes version is the project still on a front burner, side burner, left burner? Is it somewhere?
It sounds like it's still on the books. However, he said OPG being a public or like a public organization versus a private organization, every time a decision's been made, it's like council. You know, you have to go through the committee process, or you have to go through that public process, where by it being totally on a private, it's more apt to happen quicker. They can make, like a private company can make a decision tomorrow if they want to. And I'm sure there's more to it than that, but those were the reasons that he expressed to me. So he said Patrick Godfrey will be reaching out to us. We know him from before. So, we'll wait for him to contact us. I'm also pursuing, some form of a meeting with Minister Pache, the Minister of Energy. And, I spoke with, Yvonne, and she's already sort of put me in the process for getting a delegation at Roma. But that's to be a decision to be made, from, later now. But those are sort of the things that I sort of in motion. Any other comments or questions, Mike?
I just read today that the amount of power put into the grid from solar generation right at the moment in this province is less than 1% of what we use. So for all the hullabaloo that we have out there for renewables and that, we're doing virtually zero. Other countries are so far ahead of us on all this right now. And I'll give you my personal observation. I'm probably older than anybody else here in this room. And I'm going to be, let's face it, I'll be dead in the next little while. But all these kids going forward, everybody says, oh, it's too expensive. It's too expensive. We can't do that. But when does it become less expensive? When we have 6 hurricanes a year that make it through southern US and obliterate half of it? Like, I don't understand how we can't not afford to do something about it now. And people who say, well, there is no climate change, well, I think they're wrong. But it is not too expensive. Sure, we have to tighten our belts now, but if we don't, what we're leaving behind is going to be a disaster. That's just my own personal feeling on this, but that's all we say. It's all about money. It's never about doing the right thing. It's all about how much is it going to cost us. Anyways,
Mike?
I haven't had a rant for a long time, so that's my rant for the day, but it's only 1%, which is minuscule. And with all the cars coming online now and trucks, we don't have near enough power to charge that. If they all plugged in at once at night, the whole grid would just go down. It'd be gone. Sorry.
Thanks, Mike. It's okay. Anybody else? Eric?
A couple thank yous here. I got a chance on Halloween to go downtown and check out the trunk or treat. Thank you very much to the Lions, all the Lions members and those other members of the community who participated in that event downtown. It was great. Thank you as well to Annabella Stoic and her volunteers for the zombie walk in the parquet. That was excellent. As well, thank you to several residents who had great displays in their yards around town. There were some great ones, so thank you. On the weekend, I also got a chance to check out the Heart of Hastings Christmas tour. It was great. There was lots of stops on the tour. Thank you to all the local businesses and entrepreneurs who participated and helped draw business into Marmarin Lake. And thanks to all the members of the public who went around and supported these entrepreneurs. That tour is running again Friday, Saturday, Sunday this coming weekend. And if you don't have a tour schedule or a map, you can get so around town or at the tourism center. The Marmara Public Library is hosting a screening of all the Marmarin Lake produced entries to the Small Town Shorts Film Festival. That's happening on November 23rd at 2, but space is limited. They will definitely fill up, so you do have to make a reservation. So you can contact the library if you want to go and watch all those produced in Marmara productions with popcorn. Reminder to the public that the Remembrance Day ceremony is starting at the Legion. There'll be a parade starting at 10 a.m. down to the cenotaph in the park. Anyone is welcome to join and participate in that. The service starts at 11 and Legion is providing light lunch after the ceremony back at the Legion.
And just in addition to that, we will be laying a wreath for Marmarin Lake. And if any members of council are there and want to participate in the laying of the wreath, please just join in. Anybody else? I guess that's it. So We need a motion to go into the closed meeting session. That council proceed into the closed meeting session under Municipal Act Section 239(2). B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. D, labor relations or employee negotiations regarding an employee update. And D, labor relations or employee negotiations regarding department operations. We need a mover and a seconder. Eric? Second? Mike? All in favor? That's carried. So we'll